Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the City of Healing. This is your sister, Sinette Angela. Hope that everyone is having a beautiful Saturday morning. Wanted to come forth just briefly to do a brief share. And I know I just attempted to do the Chinese shuffle. I saw it some time ago, maybe a year or so ago, and I thought it was very interesting, very cool dance, even though it's not a new dance. Some of us back in the day call it the running man, and seen it done in Native American, seen it done in African American dance, and now I see that the Chinese shuffle has arisen to a new phase, I believe. It has been around for quite some time, and like I said, I did see the dance quite some time ago. So I attempted because I thought it looked so cool and simple to do. This morning I just happened to decide that that's what I wanted to do, include in part of my workout plan. I did a nice long walk, a little jog, and then I said, well, I'm going to find this Chinese shuffle. It looks so simple to do. I've done the shuffle, and I'm not good with line dancing and stuff like that. I just don't stick to a regimen like that. But I said I'm going to do it because it looks so simple and so cool and smooth. So I got into doing it. It was my first time doing it. I didn't realize it was such a cardio workout. And I did it off and on because I couldn't go through the whole while of doing it for about an hour. So there were some stops in between. And so I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this almost every day, include it in my workout plan, because it showed me how little cardio that I am used to doing, even though I do some running. That added another level of cardio workout for me. And also, if you're not aware, that dancing and moving also increases serotonin. It increases the happy hormone. And basically, when you're jumping, when you're turning and bouncing, it increases the amount of serotonin that you build. It increases your immunity. It helps vibrate the thymus gland that's located in your chest. We always neglect that, but you have to, pounce on it or bounce. Jumping rope is even really good also for this emitting this immune response, emitting this youth hormone also. Bouncing and spinning are also very excellent with increasing your immunity, with increasing your serotonin, providing this happy hormone for your body. So I looked back and I saw one of the family's story that you can go back and research the Chinese shuffle if you like, and even try it. It's an excellent cardio. It's excellent for increasing your immunity. It's excellent for increasing your cardio. It's excellent for providing, a good basic workout and just increasing your happiness, and your glow. So if you're not bouncing, not saying you have to say you have to do the Chinese shuffle. I just thought of, China at this moment. I know a lot of people feel that, China is our enemy, and they themselves are going through so much right now. And it's not in every part of China, of course, but they having a lot of disasters happening at one time. And I've have some friends, as I shared before. I worked at their restaurant and invited into their homes and their family, and they even helped me through college at one point. So like I said, everybody that looked like me is not necessarily my friend, and everybody that doesn't look like me is not my friend. And I know, the white versus black, and I am aware who I am and why I am, and I know that it's a spiritual warfare, because these bodies, these containers are only temporary. And there is in the spiritual realm this black and white also that is at war against each other, and that's what we on this planet right now are going through as well. So just wanted to add that point in, but I wanted to talk about the rise and the anticipated rise in mental health issues moving forward in this world with everything that's been going on and everything that's going to happen, in anticipation of everything that's going to happen. Mental health is going to be an issue, really. It is even now. I was reminded of that, I believe, a couple of days ago, because at work, I do a lot of walking, as I've mentioned before, but I was at work and going on one of my walks, and I saw this pigeon, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he left me a feather. He just shook it out and just gave it to me. And I don't know about, I collect feathers, but I don't know about anyone else, but if you hold a feather in your hands, you can feel the pulse of it. No matter how old the feather is, you can always feel the pulse. And that's why Native Americans use a lot of feathers, because it has so much energy with it. So it's just not because it's beautiful or it's just because for show. Feathers have a lot of energy. So that pigeon left me that feather, and I encourage people at work to check the pulse in the feather, and it was like, no, you ain't gonna do it. So finally I got them to try it, and it was like, nah, that's your pulse. I was like, oh, I know what my pulse feel like. That's not my pulse. And so I said, well, try this piece of paper. It's just as thin as the feather. Just try it, see if you feel it. And no, they did not feel it, and they felt that. And I was like, oh, okay, it is true. It does have a pulse, And even at work with checking peripheral pulses, especially lower extremity pulses, my fingers are extra sensitive to picking up pulses in the body, in the dorsopedius, and some people have to use a Doppler to check to see if there's a pulse. I can actually feel it. It's just sensitive fingers. The energy is just real. But anyway, going neither far, straight far away from my point what I was making. But I was just walking, minding my own business. I did not have my mask on because I was more than 20 feet away from anybody, just enjoying the view, doing what I always do, every break that I can get from work, to do my little walk and to be without the mask, etc. So I'm walking, and then I see this lady coming towards me. I was like, oh, what's wrong with her? She was an older lady. She was walking with a limp, and it looked like a walker, but it wasn't a walker. But I finally figured she was coming for me, and she didn't look pleased, and she was speeding up. I was like, oh goodness. So I just stopped, and she came closer, and she's like, you're the reason why we have this virus everywhere. You're the reason. And as she began to scold me and talk to me, I was like, I know this lady. I took care of her several years ago. She was about 400 pounds then, but now she was barely 150. But she was going on and on and on, and I was remembering how sickly she was, and they could never find anything that was wrong with her. But me, myself, I listened to everything that she said when she was this sick and hospitalized, and tried to help her in every way, and she always used to praise me. But in that moment in time, she forgot or didn't recognize who I was, because at the time I had dreads, I believe. My hair was totally different then, and she didn't recognize me. So I just let her go on and on and on about wearing the mask and why I was to blame, this, that, and the other. So at that time, no matter how I felt about the mask or whatever, I was like, yes, ma'am, and I put the mask on. At that point, I felt it wasn't necessary to cause an argument or how to try to make someone understand, because she already made her decision as to whether she felt the virus was real or not real, or there was a mask that was needed, etc., etc. So it wasn't about me. It wasn't about my ego. It was about helping her at the time. Not that I felt that she was right, but to help her mental health at the time, because she was obviously very upset with me. So I put the mask on and I went on my way, as she continued to argue and fuss and whatever. I was like, she's gonna make herself even sicker, being so upset. So I kept the mask on, and when I'm outside, like now, I don't even see people, so why should I have to have a mask? But just know, I feel it's going to be mandatory, even if you're not even close to people, to have a mask on. That was my sign and symbol of that happening to transpire in the near future. But mental illness, whether we feel this virus situation, this is Florida water and orange blossom and peppermint, but it's on the rise, and it's going to be concerning because I was thinking about that, and I was in the checkout line at Whole Foods, and I saw this magazine, The Complete Guide to Mental Health. And I said to myself, The Complete Guide to Mental Health? I was like, that's an error in itself, because in my opinion, it should be maybe a complete guide to mental health, because what is mental health? And I feel, first of all, if you're not in harm of yourself or others, or if you're accepting of who you are, then is it really an issue or mental illness? Because if we know everybody is different and everybody has a perception, and I was thinking that, if I was to say and define what mental illness is, I would have to classify every human being at some risk of mental illness, because the brain can be very, 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 very fragile, and you never know when there's going to be some missing key or some trigger that makes it go left or right. And it's even subconsciously there are issues that we aren't able to bring forth and identify as a mental illness. And mental illness, I said before, is so broad and have so many definitions I won't even be able to address at this moment in time in this video, or maybe even 100 videos, because I would have to look at each human being to define if they feel they are, or identify if they are at risk or harm to themselves or other, or if they are accepting of who they are. So what I can say though, and just a couple of mental disorders to just briefly talk about in this book, which is very good, but I don't think it's the complete guide. I think it's and it's a guide to it, and to address a couple of things, with mental illness. We know that the most common health conditions are anxiety disorders, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia. First of all, going back to anxiety disorders, this book says there's 42 million cases. Eating disorders, 30 million, be if, it's overeating, not eating, or not eating enough. Addictive substance abuse, 20.2 million. Depression, 16 million. Bipolar disorder, 6.1 million. So, and to add another one to it, and I'm probably not on the correct DSM on it, but schizophrenia, with everything that's going on, it's going to happen. People are going to start not knowing what to believe and what to believe, and thinking they seeing things, not seeing things. Hallucinations, auditory, sensory perception is going to be altered, basically. So is that going to be a harm to self or others, or is it going to be identified as others? And, I can't say that holistic health is going to be able to address all of that, but I think more of an awareness that these conditions can happen can be an acceptance of that, especially if you're not in harm of yourself or others, or accepting of yourself or others. And that's just to touch on some of the anxiety disorders, because it's very broad. I wouldn't be able to touch on it at all. Let's see what else. And like I said, this COVID-19 situation, with some believing that it's real, some believing that it's not, and just looking at what's being fed to the minority, what you're buying into, not what you're buying into, is going to take a toll. But not saying that medicine is going to be the key, definitely not. but being aware of your own mental hygiene, doing your exercises, having a healthy diet, deep breathing, fires of breath, bouncing, jumping. Jumping rope is excellent. Any bouncing helps build the immune system. It also helps build the happy hormone. So get with that, because a lot of high anxiety disorders will be on the rise, depression, just finding your medium with dealing with stress, having relaxation techniques, meditation, yoga, acupuncture may all help treat anxiety disorders. But I just wanted to basically just touch on it, and I'll definitely be doing more videos on it because it's so broad, and it's definitely going to be on the rise, and everyone is going to be looked at differently because we're such in a divided state at this moment with this virus situation. Some believing that it is, some believing that it's not, and those in between, like myself, dealing with, the reality of it and the possibility of it, to not believing that it is any type of reality except the reality that we create for ourselves. So, and it's kind of hard to, not for me, but I believe that it would be hard for some to accept. But definitely knowing that there is that place that you can be. And again, mental illness, and I'll definitely be talking about, again, this is just a skim of talking about mental illness and its possibility of, its reality of being on the rise, and actually questioning how much control of your mind that you really do have. Just think about it, how much of a reality that our own minds can create. And I've mentioned before, I had a situation with one of my nurses that which we were starting to treat. I have patients coming in at the time, and this patient had a symptom of possible virus, and which was a fever. She checked his temperature, and she went into a panic state, had her gown on, shaking, started to feel bad and everything. And I was asking what was going on, and she said this patient had a virus, and this, that, and the other. The patient was all upset and everything, and come to find out, the patient didn't have a temperature or a fever. It was a machine error. Something was wrong with the machine. So it's amazing how the brain itself can take over, and also how much out of control. You don't have any control over the mind. You have to be in a state of actually knowing, and meditation helps that, yoga helps that. And I felt it very important just to bring to the surface, and definitely talk about some more, because this doesn't really even touch on it. But I'm not going to do that much talking at one time, but I will be definitely addressing maybe a specific disorder next time. Anyway, thanks for visiting the city, and I hope that you all have a beautiful day. Take care.